Tie Show weekly recap. This is the Sunday edition of the Tie Show, which is for May 24th, where we'll sit down and review what has happened in the week of sports, including some stuff that has happened today. We're going to start off on a little bit of a low note, but I have to bring it up a little bit because I haven't talked about it this week, and it's the biggest story out here in Oklahoma right now. Eddie Sutton, the first college basketball coach to lead four different schools to the NCAA tournament, died late Saturday night. His family said in a statement he was 84 years old. Sutton's family said he passed away at his home in Tulsa, Oklahoma due to natural causes, surrounded by his sons and their families. His wife of 54 years, Patsy, died in 2013. Sutton, a four-time National Coach of the Year, was one of 9 honorees to be elected to the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame in April. He'll be inducted posthumously along with Kobe Bryant on August 29th. Head coach Eddie Sutton he coached Kentucky, Oklahoma State, San Francisco, and Creighton, I believe, were the four teams he coached at. His family said Sutton felt like it was an honor and a tribute to the great players he coached and outstanding assistant coaches that worked for him. Inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame in 2011, Sutton guided his team to a combined 26 NCAA tournament appearances, 37 seasons. Sutton won 806 games and appeared in 3 Final Fours. He won 17 conference regular season and tournament championships and in only one losing season. Over the years, he coached at several different schools, including 11 years at Arkansas, 16 years at his alma mater of Oklahoma State, where he led the school to 2 Final Fours in 95 and 04. In 05, Oklahoma State made its 8th consecutive NCAA tournament appearance, the longest streak in school history. Oklahoma State University is deeply saddened by the passive coach Eddie Sutton, said Oklahoma State's president Bern Hagris. Hall of Fame coach with more than 800 wins, he revived our historic basketball program and will all be revered and loved by the Cowboy family. Dad and Mom treated their players like family and always wanted to share the belief that his teachings went beyond the basketball court, Sutton's family wrote. He cherished the time he spent at every school and appreciated the support of their loyal fans. He believed they deserve so much credit in the success of his programs. This is a really, really sad story because Eddie Sutton uh, has had health problems for like the last 5 years, and he was kind of waiting on him getting that Hall of Fame induction, which he completely deserving. He is the probably one of the best basketball coaches for one of the Oklahoma programs out here in a long time. I mean, that 04 Oklahoma State team, I was watching highlights of them the other day and how good they were. They had 5 NBA players. See Tony Allen dominate like he did, scoring 18. I think it was 18 or 19 points a game. But even Tony Allen, who we know as a defensive master in the NBA, was able to score like crazy on this team. And Eddie Sutton coached that team to a Final Four. It kind of put Oklahoma State as the basketball school in Oklahoma, and it still kind of is to this day. I know Oklahoma's had some runs lately with Blake Griffin and Buddy Hield and Trae Young, but we view Oklahoma State as the better college basketball program than OU out here. And that's because of what Eddie Sutton did and Gallagher Iba did before him. But yeah, it, really great honor that he did make the Hall of Fame and he got to see that before he passed away. It's sad that he doesn't get to experience that, but being put in with one of the greatest Hall of Fame classes with Kobe, Garnett, Duncan is an honor for somebody I think of Eddie Sutton's caliber, and just what condolences out to his family and anyone else that has been that had him affect their life. Uh, but he will always be remembered out here, and I hope around the world too. The second thing we're going to get into is the NBA officially returning. I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but after 10 weeks of the NBA season shut down, the league offices continue to explore alternatives to resume the 2019-2020 season. The NBA is currently in discussions with Disney about resuming the season, and ESPN's Worldwide of Sports in Orlando as a single site with a timeline of late June earmarked. NBA spokesperson Mike Bass says the discussion at this point were still exploratory, with the 255-acre campus, which features multiple arenas, to be used for practices and housing as well. The NBA, in conjunction with the National Players Basketball Association, has engaged in exploratory conversations with the Walt Disney Company about restarting the 2019-2020 season in late July at Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex in Florida as a single site for an NBA campus for games, practices, and housing. Bass said, "Our priority continues to be the health and safety of all involved, and we are working with public health experts and government officials on a comprehensive set of guidelines to ensure that appropriate medical protocols and protections are in place." How will the games be played? The Athletics Shams Karina reported Saturday that the league surveyed all 30 NBA teams and general managers to discuss potential formats to resume play, including resuming the regular season with all 30 teams and then commence the playoffs, advancing directly to the playoffs based on the standing from March 12, and a playoff plus idea which would expand the number of teams competing for a playoff spot with a play-in tournament. With multiple courts available at the Wide World of Sports campus, the NBA could see games played throughout the day in a similar style to the Las Vegas Summer League. Following initial reports that Las Vegas could serve as a single site for the NBA to resume, Disney World in Florida emerged as a potential candidate. ESPN's Wide World of Sport complex is a 255-acre campus with multiple arenas and can house players' families, as well as NBA team staff, officials, and event staffs in an isolated bubble. The campus has hosted the Junior NBA World Championship in recent years, with the Disney complex featuring nearly 24,000 hotel rooms. In order to resume the season, rigorous testing protocols will need to be implemented to ensure the health and safety of both player officials and staff. According to Karina, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver informed players on a call on May 8th that the league expects to have daily coronavirus testing for players with no stoppage in play necessary should a player test positive, with anyone who tests positive to go self-isolation in their hotel room. I think this is a great idea, as we talked yesterday. I know I went for a long time on it, but we're all ready for sports to return, and the NBA being probably one of the most important sports to return. We want to see the impact of the season. We wanted to see what LeBron could do. We wanted to see what the Clippers could do. We wanted to finish up what the Bucks could do. There are so many good storylines this season. We wanted to see how those turned out, and it looks like we're gonna get that chance at Disney World, which is kind of cool. Another thing that has happened this week, Oklahoma coach Lon Kruger will return to the University of Florida as the opposing coach for the first time in 2021. Oklahoma announced Tuesday the schools have scheduled a home and home series for the next two seasons. Sooners expect to host the Gators on December 2nd and will make their first trip to Florida the next season on a date to be determined. Lon Kruger coached Florida from 1990 to 1996 and led the Gators to a Final Four in 94. Oklahoma and Florida have played three times, including twice in the past 4 years. The Sooner won the most recent matchup 65-60 in the 2018 Battle for Atlantis. So I have no problems with this. Gives OU another team to play in non-conference basketball, and Oklahoma Florida I think could be a really good series. But let's jump into the recap of the match yesterday between Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson versus Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods. Few players in their respective sports performed better on Sunday than Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Tiger Woods, and Phil Mickelson. In the match at Medalist Golf Club, Sunday wasn't one of them for the Buccaneers quarterback. In fairness, playing with two of the best golfers in the world in the rain and had a brute of a course, the struggling Brady was good-natured and enduring some ribbing from commentator Charles Barkley, whose swing was once a mix of over-the-top, inside to out, and outside to in, all in one whiff, and some call-ins from golfers Brooks Copaya and Texas star defenseman J.J. Watt, both of whom were charitable donors. Woods at his home course in Hobe Sound, Florida, and Mickelson played the course at 7,243 yards. Brady an 8.1 handicap and Manning a 6.4 played it at 6,857. It's a lot of real estate for the amateurs. Oh, and no caddies. Each player drove his own cart. We know how the pros plays, but it's not as simple as analyzing the amateurs game. Gimmies and alternate shots aren't recognized in the USGA handicap system. Brady has a stylish swing and swung like a single-digit handicapper. Manny's swing wasn't as smooth, but he was the better iron player and knows his way around the greens. Brady looked like a weekend hacker through the six holes. He didn't find his game until he holed his fourth shot from the fairway on the par 5 7. Brady and Manning could have used a wider fairway on the first tee, perhaps Green Harbor and Marshfield. They both went left, Manny hitting it out of play. The jitters were obvious. Brady put up a big number on the par 5 third hole. He pushed his tee ball right. He hit a provisional, and what he said to Brady, that'll be in the fairway over on 7. Brady flubbed 3 chips on the front. He looked nervous, and the jitters were exposed in his short game. On the 184 par 3 fourth, Manny hit a 7 iron and then made a 20-foot for birdie. He went 2 holes on his own ball on the front. Brady had 2 way misses through 5 holes, nothing worse for a golfer. He pushed 4 tee shots right. Remember, he hit 2 balls on number 3 and pulled 2 left, 1 into the water, 1 on the funky 1 club challenge hole, number 5. Brady was coming out of his tee shots, particularly number 6. He flubbed another chip 2, and he looked as if he was ready to airmail a club. The highlight of the front nine was Brady holding his 4th shot from the par 5 7th fairway for a birdie. Turned a likely 6 to a 4 and was a good for the half of the hole. Woods, who was stripping it, lipped out an eagle. Brady was feeling it for the first time all day, but he still didn't have a par on the front. Brady had to re-tee on number 8 too. They weren't counting, but it appeared to be another double bogey, at least a second on the front. Brady did not hit a driver and did not hit a fairway until number 10. He didn't break 45 during the best ball portion of the match. On the back nine, which was alternate shot, Mickelson drove the par 4 330 yard 11th, and Brady rolled it a beautiful putt for just off the green for an eagle. Brady and Mickelson, 3 down at the turn, made it a match coming home. Brady was much better on the back. He was hitting fairways, talking a little smack, and rolling his ball. Having the luxury of a pro as a partner, an alternate shot appeared to take the pressure off Brady. Woods was money. He was a fairway greens machine, as expected at his home course, and his bulky back appeared fine. Mickelson played as he always does, bombing it off the tee, sometimes even in the fairway. Brady won the long drive challenge by 1 yard on number 15 and did it with a 3-wood. Manny's iron game is legit. He hit 3 of the 4 par 3 greens. Is Brady an 8.1 handicap? Tough to tell given the circumstances of a difficult lawn course, a rainy day, and the quality of competition, but even after the poor front, he made it a game. This was entertaining. This is what sports I feel like should be right now. It's just something to take our mind off something. I would flip it between this and the NASCAR race, which we'll talk about in just a second. Uh, but this was incredible. And yes, everyone was making fun of Tom Brady because he looked so bad in the first half. It was almost hilarious how bad he was performing. And you had Peyton out there talking to Charles Barkley, making some pretty funny comments. I know he missed a putt, and he was like, "Man, it was all because of that crowd noise," which there wasn't any, of course, because of where they were playing. But it was very, very entertaining. I enjoyed this. Uh, Tom Brady looked good the second half, made it a game, came down to the final hole, and Tiger Woods hit the putt that he was supposed to hit. And Tiger looks amazing. Looks like he's still got 1 or 2 majors in him, and it'll be very interesting to see when golf returns. What, next week? Next or the week after? Can't remember officially, but it's gonna return soon, which will be cool. So can't wait for that. But all in all, congrats to those 4 guys for giving us something. They also raised $20 million for COVID-19 relief, which is incredible. But last night we also had the NASCAR race, the Coca-Cola 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. A late caution set Brad Keselowski up for the victory in NASCAR's longest race and set Chase Elliott up for a second straight crushing disappointment. In Saturday night's Coca-Cola, or Sunday's Coca-Cola 600, which went to overtime for the second time in the history. Keselowski surged ahead after a restart on lap 404 and beat Jimmy Johnson to the finish line by 0.293 seconds to win a race that stretched to 607.5 miles, longest in NASCAR history. Johnson's finish was disqualified after his number 48 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet failed post-race inspection. Elliott led Keselowski's number 2 Team Penske Ford at 1.6 seconds before Elliott's Hendrick Motor Speedway teammate William Byron spun with a flat tire as Elliott's number 9 Chevrolet approached the start-finish line to complete lap 398 of the scheduled 400. Elliott then made a questionable decision after he pitted under the 8th caution as 8 drivers stayed out on old tires. Restarting 11th, with only 2 laps to go, he was in the lead. He pitted and he restarted 11th. Elliott charged to 3rd in the 2-lap overtime but could not go any further. Johnson's DQ left Elliott second in the final result, though. Last Wednesday, Elliott was running second for a chance to win at Darlington when a misjudgment by Kyle Busch sent him hard into the inside wall minutes before rain halted the race and made a winner of Danny Hamlin. I feel like I've thrown this race away a couple of times, and I thought we were going to lose it today, said Kozlowski, who surrendered the lead to Elliott on lap 363 and watched Elliott gradually pull away. I know we lost it the way Chase lost it, and that really stinks. Today we finally won it the way by staying out. It's major. It's the Coke 600. It only leaves one major for me, the Daytona 500. We're checking them off. We may not have been the fastest car today, but whoa, did we grind this one out. The pit crew on the yellow before the last had a blazing stop to get us to the front. Keselowski's victory was his first NASCAR Cup Series triumph of the season, his second in Charlotte, and 31st of his career. The winner was the first Ford's first in the Coca-Cola 600 since Mark Martin visited victory lane in '02. Elliott found himself in a thankless position after Byron's spin, whether crew chief Alan Gustafson brought him to pit road or not for overtime's cars behind him were certain to do the opposite. That's got to be a joke, Elliott said on the radio when the yellow came out for Byron's spin. You just try to make the best decision you can, Elliott said after the race. Those guys are just going to do the opposite of whatever you do. That's just a part of it. You make decisions and you live with them. It wasn't the pit call. I think being on the offense is fine. Like I said, those guys are going to do whatever the opposite of what you do. Rain interrupted the race on lap 50, uh, necessitating a red flag period for 1 hour, 8 minutes, 35 seconds for track drying. Starting from the pole and edging Johnson by .009 seconds during qualifying earlier in the day. Kurt Busch led the first 54 laps but lost the lead under caution for the rain and slipped back to 10th by the end of stage 1. Alex Bowman, on the other hand, grabbed the top spot with a two-tire stop under yellow on lap 54 and won the first 100 lap stage under caution. 3 laps after Clint Bowyer broke a lower control arm in the front suspension and rocketed into the outside wall in turn 1. The number 14 Ford was bellowing smoke when Bowyer came out unharmed but frustrated. It knocked the wind out of me there, Bowyer said. I mean, we're 100 laps into a 400 lap race, and to be out already, you talk about a helpless feeling. The guys worked really hard on the card, but it wasn't just meant to be. We get ready for the next Wednesday, the Also Uniforms 500 at Charlotte, which will be back at it. I'm going to go somewhere and take this thing, hands to face off, and find somewhere where I can find a cold beer. I'm out of here. Bowman dominated stage 2, leading comfortably except for a cycle of green flag pit stops midway through the 94 lap green flag run to the halfway point. On lap 203, the car stopped in line on pit road in remembrance of the fallen heroes who had become such an integrated part of Memorial Day weekend race. After pit stops, Bowman kept an advantage and led the first 23 laps of Stage 3, but Martin Truex Jr., the runner-up in the first of second stage, got past Bowman in traffic on lap 224 and held this point through the cycle of green flag pit stops. But Truex lost the lead in pits under caution for Matt Kenseth's contact with the outside wall in lap 276, where Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Chase Elliott stayed out on old tires. Uncomfortable with the fields of his car after a two-tire stop, Truex restarted fourth and fell back to fifth by the end of stage 3, with Logano holding on to the win with Bowman running second. Truex held the lead early in the final stage, but couldn't get back to the front after the uh, restart on lap 353. Ryan Blaney finished third, followed by Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Truex, and Kurt Busch. Tyler Reddick ran eighth, and Christopher Bell ninth, the best finish of the season for the Sunco Rookie of the Year contender. Chris Buescher rounded out the top 10. Bowman led a race high at 164 laps, followed by Truex, who led 87. Kozlowski was out front for 21 laps. Wednesday night's Darlington race winner Denny Hamlin had a major issue before the race started. On the pace laps, 2 block of Tunskin fell out of the number 11 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, forcing Hamlin to the pit to have the weight replaced. By the time Hamlin exited pit road, he was 8 laps down, scored 40th. Additional post-race penalties are lightly given how serious an infraction NASCAR deems this failure to secure uh, the Tunskin. This race was interesting because you had what was a entertaining race being as long as it was, but whoever was in the lead had the lead forever. That was what I figured out. It was the clean air in these cars that dominated, and as soon as you pulled out in front, as we saw this with Kurt Busch, who was on the pole, led the first 54 laps because he was at first. Say goes back to fourth, we never saw him in the lead again. Bowman does a two-tire stop, which should hurt somebody, but instead he leads 164 laps from that point because he got the clean air and just started blowing people away. Then, on a restart, Truex passed him. Truex leads for a long time. Logano, who goes the two-tire stop again, takes the lead, leads forever. And at the end, you saw Elliott pull away, and if it wasn't for Byron spinning out with 2 laps to go, Elliott would have cruised to the victory. I still don't understand why Elliott pitted when he did. I know he's saying that if he did not pit, everyone else would have pitted. But you have to understand that the race was dominated by who was ever in the lead. And you were in the lead with 2 laps to go. That's a risk you're willing to take because you just put yourself in 11th place. And at a track like Charlotte, which is very hard to pass at, it was almost impossible for him to get back up to the lead. But all in all, good race. Congrats to Brad for winning. I think they race again Wednesday night, which will be fun. It wasn't as good as Darlington, but another good race. So hats off to them. Let's go to the NFL news, which they're trying to oppose a new rule. If the NFL owners vote this week to pass the proposed 4th and 15th alternative to the onside kick, teams will be able to use it whether they're leading, trailing, or tied. There's some confusion about the proposed rule because an NFL summary said it would allow a team who is trailing in the game to come from behind, but the summary is only designed to capture the impetus behind the proposal, which was to help teams come from behind. The proposal itself never said teams had to be trailing to use it. Because the alternative can be used by leading teams and because the clock runs out on the 4th and 15th place, some teams might use it purely for clock management purposes. A team that scores a go-ahead field goal or touchdown with only a few seconds on the clock might decide to try the alternative to the onside kick, simply to run around for a few seconds until the game is over, rather than kickoff and risk a kickoff return touchdown. The alternate on the onside kick is limited to twice per game, and the teams have to inform the referee they're doing it in time for the referee to inform the opposing team. Otherwise, there are no restrictions. Basically, what they're trying to propose is that instead of doing an onside kick, you can do a 4th and 15 from the 25. If you get it, you start the drive wherever you just got that first down from, which is interesting. I don't know if I like it. I don't mind it as long as they don't get rid of the kickoff. The onside kick is extremely hard to get. But if you get rid of the kickoff, which I enjoy the kickoff, so it would hurt that. I, all in all, though, I don't hate it. I think it could work and it'll be a little bit entertaining. But the last thing I want to talk about today again is the SEC and Big 12 are allowing football workouts on campus next month. Southeastern Conference schools will be able to bring athletes in on all sports back to campus for voluntary activities starting June 8th at the discretion of each university, and the Big 12 plans to welcome football players back to campus a week later. The Friday's announcements are the latest signs that a college football season will be launched at some point this fall. Other conferences are expected to follow. Those decisions could be left to individual schools. That move comes 2 days after the NCAA Division I Council voted to lift a moratorium on voluntary workouts on campus by football and basketball players effective June 1st. The NCAA updated that ruling Friday by saying voluntary activities would be allowed in all sports starting June 1st. At this time, we are preparing to begin the fall sports season as currently scheduled, and this limited resumption of voluntary athletic activities on June 8th is an important initial step in that process, SEC Commissioner Greg Stanke said. The SEC initially announced Friday that voluntary in-person activities could resume June 8th on SEC campuses only for football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. But after the NCAA issued its updating ruling Friday afternoon, the SEC announced that June 8th date would apply to athletes in all sports. Big 12 president and chancellors met Friday and decided voluntary activities could begin June 15th for football, July 4th for other sports, and July 15th for all other sports. SEC officials noted any workouts would take place under strict supervision of designated university personnel and safety guidelines developed by each institution. They referred to June 8th as the start of the transition period that will allow students athletes to gradually adapt to full training and sports activities after the recent period of inactivity. Permitted actions are limited by the NCAA to voluntary activities supervised by strength and conditioning personnel. Georgia Athletic Director Greg McGarry said it was only the first step with further details and plans coming over the next several days and weeks. It's an important step towards having a season this fall, and we will continue to collectively work together as our top priority is to ensure the safety and well-being of our student athletes, coaches, and staff. Auburn's coach Gus Malzahn said in a statement. The SEC decided to resume athletic activities with the guidance of a league task force that included public health, infectious disease, and sports medicine professionals from each league's 14 member schools. The task force prepared a series of best practices for screening, testing, monitoring, tracing, social distancing, and maintaining a clean environment to serve as a guide for each school. Recommendations included testing of symptomatic team members, including athletes, coaches, and staffers, as well as screening athletes before they arrive on campus within 72 hours of entering athletic facilities and on a daily basis once they resume athletic activities. Other recommendations include immediate isolation of team members who are diagnosed with COVID or are under investigation, followed by contact tracing under Center of Disease Control and local public health guidelines. Health and safety has been our top priority as we've gone about this planning process and will continue to follow guidance from medical experts and health officials as we navigate the coming weeks. Tennessee Athletic Director Philip Fulmer said, "Our staff and student athletes should be prepared with a new normal as we'll be implementing changes to how everyone accesses and uses our facilities." SEC officials said the task force recommendation could provide a guide to league members. Stanky noted that each school would get to make its own decisions regarding plans for how to make student athletes return in safety. For example, even though the task force recommendations only mention testing symptomatic team members, Georgia Senior Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine Ron Curson said in a statement that the Bulldogs will conduct COVID testing and perform medical evaluations on all student athletes. Florida announced that it will also be testing all of its athletes. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said Friday he thinks college football will return on schedule with at least some spectators. Abbott has already issued new rules to allow youth sports leagues to resume in June and for some professional leagues to hold events without spectators. Once we get to college football season, our goal right now is to have college football season start as planned with fans in the stand, Abbott said in an interview with the Austin television station KXAN. What we do not know is what the captivity level will be. I think the most interesting part from all this is, are we going to get every school? Because that's the real question now. It looks like yes, we are going to get college football at some point, and it looks like there will be some, at least a little bit of fans involved. I don't know how that would work out, but that's how it looks. You have that, but I think the main thing is that you have um, all this news about California right now, and that's the main thing is that how are they going to be able to play like a school like USC or UCLA in September, or a Rutgers, where it's really bad right now. For places like Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, where it's starting to die down there, makes sense that they would be able to return in September. But places that aren't dying down, New York, New Jersey, California, who are still under a stay-at-home order, do they play? Because it all decides on. I think you have to have a set date of where every team can return and play, which will decide that all. But all in all, be very interesting. That's it for me today. Leave a like, comment what you guys thought of the weekly recap. Did I miss anything that was kind of big this week? Leave it in the comments. But that's it for me. I'll see you all tomorrow, which will be Memorial Day. So shout out to all the veterans and anyone who risks their life for the military. We appreciate you all living in this great country of America and letting us be free. So thank you. Uh, that's it for me today. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.